It was declared to be a traditional fishing ground of many nations for many generations. But, tumigil sila ron. Hindi nila sinabi na sinabi rin in succeeding paragraphs that this is not absolute. Fishing rights is not absolute. In fact, fishing is considered as a non-innocent passage sa loob ng high seas at territorial seas. Dito lang allowed ang fishing kasi traditional. One. Number two, not absolute. Number three, it is subject to regulation. Number four, by the coastal state who is in control of the area. Number five, sino may control ng area? Malalaman natin mamaya. Na China pala yan. So, nagsasabi sila ng kabalbalan. Niloloko nila ang taong bayan dahil sino ba naman ang pupunta pa sa mga detalye ng mga butil-butil ng mga provisions na yan? Bakit? Yan ang tanong, bakit? If the press release of the Strat-based Institute and its president, Victor Andres Dindo Manhit, is to be believed, the ruling announced 9 years ago on the 2013 Philippine submissions to the arbitration against China dealing with the South China Sea issue was a victory. Kung siya paniniwalaan. Pero hanggang saan lang ang kanyang kredibilidad malalaman natin. Because nothing could be farther from the truth. Ilang beses kong binasa ang arbitral ruling, isa lang nakita kong pabor kay Manhit. The lie is so pernicious, it is hurting the Philippines' best interest. The only victory it serves is from the perspective of its coinciding with the American pivot, the plan announced in 2009 and implemented later by Barack Obama to shift 60% of the military presence of the United States to the Asia Pacific as a counterpoise to China. That vicious objective, preserving the status of the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, WASPs, as the world's dominant hegemon, was achieved through a single paragraph. Ito lang ang nakita ko na pabor sa kanila. Isang paragraph lang sa buong arbitral ruling, pero sinasabi nila it was a total victory. Paragraph 278 inserted into the 2016 arbitral award, rendering the 9-dash line descriptive of China's overwhelming claims over the South China Sea as having no legal basis. Isang paragraph lang. Never mind the preposterous context of the provision as referring only insofar as one treaty is concerned, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, of which the United States is not even a member. Never mind if the jurisdiction of UNCLOS is only for sovereign rights. Hindi po kasama yung ibabaw at yung kalangitan. Sovereign rights in coastal waters and not sovereignty over land. Never mind if the treaty is not the embodiment of the entire international law, as it applies only to maritime entitlements effective only as late as 1994. If it allows the asymmetry to shift the lawfare in favor of America's rules-based order supplanting international law. Iba po yan, ha? At pati po yung DFA secretary na yun, ha? Adherent po yan ng US rule-based order. Kaya walang pagbabago. Yung duwag na Foreign Affairs Secretary dati na binabae ang mga naging kaugalian ay pinagtag lamang ng babae. Wala pong pagbabago dyan. Never mind if the arbitral award itself qualifies the context with that sweeping ruling is to be read and understood. Paano ba natin dapat intindihin? Alam mo, nang tinanong ako sa tribe, Mr. Paglinawan, sabi ni Congressman Designate Abante, kayo po ba yung abogado? Sabi ko, hindi po. Hindi po ako abogado. Marunong lang po akong magbasa at umintindi. Kasi maraming abogado, masahol pa sa Supreme Court. Uso ngayon ng mga spokes. Bakit? Paragraph 272, preceding 278 says, because the tribunal considers the question of historic rights with respect to maritime areas to be entirely distinct from that of historic rights to land, the tribunal considered it opportune that certain claims remain unaffected by this decision.
Remain affected.
Hindi sweeping. Yung 9-dash line invalidation, in the first place, hindi mabasag sa 9-dash line ang claims ng China. But that is never mind. Hayaan mo ng China mag-abogado doon. Dinagdag pa ng arbitral ruling. In particular, the tribunal emphasizes that nothing in this award should be understood to comment in any way on China's historic claim into the islands of the South China Sea. Nag-comment si Congressman Barber, sabi niya, hindi po ba inabandon ng China ang claim na nung ma-invalidate ang 9-dash line? Tingnan niyo yung paintindi ng ating mga diputado. Ang layo sa katotohanan. Nothing in this award should be understood to comment in any way on China's historic claim to the islands of the South China Sea. So never mind if in fact the arbitral award by virtue of this paragraph even expanded, mga kabansa, China's option under UNCLOS as the paragraph 272 ends. Paano nagtapos? Sinabi niya, wala kaming pakialam dyan sa China's historic claims. Pero may pakialam ba ang China sa UNCLOS? Pwede ba mag-claim ang China pertaining to UNCLOS? Ito sabi na mo, arbitral award, nor does the tribunal's decision that a claim of historic rights to living and non-living resources is not compatible with this convention limit China's ability to claim maritime zones in accordance with the convention on the basis of these islands. Ano po ang implikasyon nito? Lumaki pa ang flexibility ng China. Meron na siyang historic claim na hindi kini-question ng arbitral ruling. Pwede pa siya mag-claim ng maritime entitlements under UNCLOS. Hindi siya disqualified dahil signatory siya. What the convention expressed in layman's terms This UNCLOS does not negate nor reject China's historic titles, nor does it preclude China from making claims under UNCLOS on matters of maritime rights. Lumawak pa! Ladies and gentlemen, from this promontory or protuberance, ganda ng word na yun, protuberance, China cured the ambiguity as to who has de jure sovereignty over Bajo de Masinloc. Kaya ayaw nilang makipagharap sa amin eh. Itong strat-based na ito. 7 na taon na namin hinahamon ng ganito eh. Tingnan nyo yung kanilang invitasyon. By invitation only. Pag wala na invitasyon, hindi ka pwedeng pumasok sa mga forum nila. Hindi ka pwedeng magtanong. Dadaan sa isang moderator yung tanong mo. Pag hindi niya gusto, hindi niya babasahin. Hindi kayo makapagtatanong doon ng diretso.
Correct.
Baka magaya kayo kay Eden. Na-cure ng China yung ambiguity sa legal sovereignty niya over Bajo de Masinloc. How? By submitting an official statement and accompanying charge to the United Nations last December 2024. Dito lang, Pasko. Outlining the baselines of the territorial sea around Scarborough Shoal, which China calls Wang Yangdao, in accordance not with its historic rights, but doon sa sinasabi kong flexibility, UNCLOS requirements. Patak, paktayo. Yari na naman tayo sa mga Chino. When published by the United Nations in its official website, this cements China's de facto sovereignty over the future it acquired after the Philippines abandoned to the effective control of China after the 2012 Scarborough Shoal standoff. Wala na tayong habol. Before, malabo. Sabi ng China, labas yan sa treaty limits yun. Tinanggal natin yung treaty limits. Tinanggal ang ating kongreso. Kaya itong National Maritime Zones Law, formally, kinonfirm ko sa TRICOM. Mr. Paginawan, did you call the National Maritime Law as a stupid law? Yes, Your Honor. I called it a stupid law. Alam niyo, sabi ni Dan Fernandez, stupid law pala eh. Tayo nagpasa niyan eh. Stupid din tayo. Siya nagsabi nun ha. Hindi ako. Noong pa pong 2009, stupid na ang ating kongreso. Kinakahon natin ang ating posisyon. Binabakura natin ang ating sarili at pumapasok tayo sa loob ng kahon. Samantalang yung ginawa ni Marcos sa PD 1596, binuksan niya ng malawak ang negotiation. Oh, ganyan kalaki yung gusto kong kunin, nakakuha ko ng ganun. Eh wala naman before. Eh di, lamang tayo. Eh ngayon, ang laki ng ginawa ng Marcos, niliita natin, mawawala pa ito. Anong victory dyan? Mr. Manhid. Parang pinaamoy ako. So how can the arbitral award by the widest stretch of my imagination even be considered a victory? How can we reconcile our forever loss of a claimed territory to the strat-based press release that, ito sabi niya, landmark ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration that invalidated Beijing's massive claims in the South China Sea When what is true, in fact, is that it bolstered China's position. And a similar position has been bolstered between Pag-asa and Santikay. Bakit? Ito na. Tignan natin kung paano nangyari yan. What is the reason, therefore, that Manhit, the strat-based president, is lying to his teeth? Alam niyo, sinasabi ko na nagsisinungaling siya because the reverse would be worse. Ibig sabihin, ignoramo siya. So I'm being very kind to Mr. Manhit at this point. I can only go back to recent history for the explanation. The Philippines started occupation of some features of the Spratly Islands in 1971, formalizing it in PD 1596. That Marcos signed in 78 as a polygon within a larger Spratly archipelago. China has consistently rejected the 1978 Philippines' claim to the Calayan Islands, viewing them as part of their own territory established through statutory construction of its own sovereignty over the islands and surrounding waters, acquired through historic titles, and specifically after receiving its return of the entirety by Japan to China after World War II. Baliwanag po ba yan? Sa China po sinuli yung teritoryo, hindi sa Pilipinas, hindi sa Brunei, hindi sa Malaysia, hindi sa Taiwan, hindi sa Vietnam. Sa China po sinuli. Lahat ng inukupan niya from 1894 to 1945. Ano yung 1894? Yung first Sino-Japanese War. China's response has included diplomatic protests, military presence, and civilian law enforcement.